Excuse me for a moment, please.
What did you give him?
Oh, I just gave him some pocket change.
Randolph, leave me alone, Mortimer. Randolph! I'm still not talking to you. Look. Mortimer, we're back. I see.
Greetings, fellow Earthlings, Kafir and Goy. Hope everyone's doing well. We're just a few days away from Christmas. Hopefully, everyone's not freaking out, overstressing about financial situations they've been put in. Let's put it like that, and that kind of thing. Domestic insanity, as we've talked about before, statistically revs up this time of year, unfortunately, because people get too invested in mass media hype of Xmas instead of Christ. So, yeah, hopefully that's not the case with you. You remain Christ-centered and thereby family-oriented for the holiday. Of course, Pascha being the greatest Christian holiday, but you know. Yeah, so that little clip that we started with, the cold start, that's actually from Coming to America, the original version, so to speak. Or I guess you can say the reboot is not really a reboot, it was a sequel. But the original in 1988, yeah, it kind of had not an Easter egg, as they say. I hate that. It's really foreshadowing. I don't know why they just call it foreshadowing. They got to be blasphemous with everything. But anyway, it's kind of a flashback, so to speak, slash foreshadowing of a future sequel for Trading Places. I believe that was the original review we did for this Eddie Murphy series, was on Trading Places. It was definitely one of the first one or second one we did. At any rate, I encourage you folks to check that one out if you haven't already. But yeah, there's been rumors that Eddie Murphy plans on rebooting Trading Places too, which was already about white man's burden and nature versus nurture, and these kinds of things. So, given how belligerent this CRT stuff is these days, this hypocritical ethnic cleansing of Christian Europeans and their roots and the quote-unquote New World, you got to wonder what he has in store, what he has in mind for a reboot or sequel of Trading Places. Yeah, but I got to say, going back here to our focus here, Come to America, there's two things I want to focus here. Of course, is the racism, and the typical Hollywood stuff, the sexism, feminism, emasculation stuff, gendering, gender roles, yada yada, blah blah blah. Yeah, sexual deviancy, and ad placements. I'm gonna, I mentioned those. Those are worthy of mentioning. But also, I mean, basically, look, what can I say? The original, I gotta admit, even after doing a very critical review of it, and this is gonna be a long stream, folks. So buckle up. I mean, the length of this stream that we're gonna do just on 2 movies alone, I haven't done since I've done with them. Worked with Amir Zadeh, and that was, I guess, a year ago now. It's kind of close to that, but yeah, I mean, especially with the reboot, the 2021 reboot, or I should say, coming to with the number 2 America, the sequel. Yeah, there's just so much to cover. But even the original, it was still saturated with all the same things, except it was done in a much more subtle way. But yeah. But let's start with a Bible quote here. One that's quite common that people like to use, and some of which unfortunately misuse, and that's unfortunately quite common in certain circles, especially, more particular, I should say. But yeah, let's do that now. All right, so Galatians 3:28. Let me pull that up on stage so you can see it. Okay. There is neither Jew nor Greek, nor is there bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. So this is a King James Version. It's been interpreted different ways, translated different ways. Basically, what we're saying here, that your choice was either Jew or Gentiles. It's saying it's Greek, Gentile, or maybe even pagan. You can argue that, but and some people like to argue whatever. Yeah, 2,000 years of Christian society doesn't exist in the West, and that's for a reason. And we're going to get to that since we're covering xenophobia today, coming to America, and this. And how it's related to that. But yeah, unfortunately, even in these circles, that's misused a bit. There's like this Jew under your breath, and then no Greek with emphasis. Well, there's no Greeks. We got to have to cleanse the Greeks or slander them. Anyway, and there's neither bond or slave, which is some translations, nor free person. In other words, yeah, basically that, it's a lot easier to discern the message, not get distracted by the things there, and see that it's talking about that we're all God's children. Unfortunately, this next line is something that I have no doubts some groups are using, or perverting, I should say, misusing. There is neither male nor female. No doubt the rainbow cult is misusing that one. No doubt. Anyway, the point is this. Yeah, we're all God's children, regardless of where you're from. Even, well, let me put it like this. Even the Arab Nazis, even Hitler, I've been told, is a child of God. Yeah, that one, I don't know. But I get it. I understand the message behind it. Basically, that's what they're saying. Now, yeah, I mean, you rebuke evil and all these things. I mean, it's important. But yeah, I mean, Christ, God incarnate, he came and changed a couple things. He did away with the stoning. He did away even with some of the Ten Commandments. He cited, when asked, he cited, I believe it was 7 of them. The first 2 left out. Even keeping the Sabbath was left out, which is intriguing. But you see a pattern there, and it's related to what we're talking about here. And there's a reason, and I would say this is probably the biggest reason hippies love to claim that Christ would have been a hippie had he come during these times, because of his quote unquote inclusiveness, right? Yeah, because the Old Testament, I mean, before the old covenant, yeah, I mean, basically there wasn't inclusiveness, but God had chosen his children to set an example, establish the law. And there's no doubt, even in pagan societies, including Greek ones, and I know some Western lost sheep or goats, whatever, want to Greek bash and claim that's not the case, and the monotheist philosophers weren't really worshiping God. I mean, how the hell do they know, and how dare they? By the way, I mean, is that a Christian to make those kind of judgments? They didn't know what was in their mind and their hearts, but we can definitely read their word, and they were monotheists, and it did, by the way, Greeks paved the way, not only with their language, but with this kind of philosophy that led to making it easy. I mean, this transition to the original church, what is now called Orthodoxy, the empire is later called Byzantium. These are all labels added later, by the way. But Orthodoxy too, and now even more recently called Eastern Orthodoxy, as if there's a Western Orthodoxy. You got to make a differentiation, or really it's just more slander. It's really, again, associating Orthodox Christianity, that your foundation, the thing that saved you people, slandering it, calling it something that's the Far East, some kind of pagan thing. Yeah, and that's the kind of rhetoric we hear about the Greeks, pagans. That's all you hear. It's disgusting. It's beyond words. It's evil. It's pure freaking evil. And if you meet any Greek, let me ask you this: if you've not been to Greece yourself, you speak to anyone who's been in Greece, and what do they say? They're the most friendliest people. Right? Philotomia. There's a word that we don't necessarily have in the English language, and it's not an act. It's not like deception, like we see in Islam and things like that. In the West, best practices. Lure people in, sell them a used car, kind of thing. Sell them your insurance. It's it's ingrained. It's a core fundamental Christian value, and this is something that's been ingrained for 2 millennia. The U.S., as we know it, hasn't really existed for 2 centuries. Arguably, just over. But as we know it, don't forget, after the Constitution, we had manifest destiny and expansion and all that. So America, as you know it, is pretty new. It's less than 2 centuries old. And it's only had a few decades of dominance. And that was post-World War II, right after the industrial war complex, right? Industrial military complex, the war machine. Compare that to Greece. There's just no comparison. It's like John the Baptist comparing himself to Christ. Can't even hold the bootstraps, not even worthy for that. And that's true. America mass media wants to claim that America is the founders of democracy. framers' democracy, but that's not true. But I find it interesting that those same people want to argue that democracy is not bad, that we need an emperor, like God Emperor Trump, to save us. The mass media influence when it comes to that. I mean, I know I'm all over the place here, but I'm addressing the xenophobia in the essence. What's behind it? It's this Henry Kissinger quote, you know, when they attack, or he attacks, or I say they, the Freemasons, the Satanists, the, wolves in sheep's clothing, the scum of the earth, with the beast, with the mark has spawned. When he he's talking about the siege on the Greek island of Cyprus by the Muslim Turks, in his public address in Europe, he says, well, we need to break the Greeks, and to break them, we need to undermine their culture, their religion. That was in the 70s. Now, the Greek island of Cyprus is still occupied, but the US and UK have supported that, has established bases, has usurped the natural resources discovered in that island, set up military installations there, and present it as some kind of nation of its own, managed by the US, overrun by Muslim Turks. You even got casinos there now. I don't know how many casino streams are like advertising from Cyprus all of a sudden, with scumbag Muslims and communist Chinese, Jews littering the place. The feature table, always featuring that group. There's always a Muslim Oriental being featured. What the hell's going on here, man? I mean, it's bad enough that BRICS has taken over, but when you've got a Christian nation, and again, I'm sorry, and I've been around a little bit. I mean, I'm not like world traveled. I haven't even been, south of the equator, to be frank. I haven't even been to Asia. But traveled enough. I've been around quite a bit, especially the United States. All of North America, really. Outside of Central America, I've been to Canada, spent time there, spent time in Mexico. All of the lower 48. No, I'm sorry. I mean, you take it how you want, but there's no people that compare to the Greeks. Let me give you an example. To this day, Greeks don't walk around saying shalom, faking it, which makes me want to vomit thinking about it. They don't have to. They are the continuation. They are the new covenant. Jews established Christianity and continued their traditions. And so orthodoxy, what you call orthodoxy, is that continuation, is that new covenant. So they didn't have to fake it. But the early Christians did greet each other with peace be with you, yes. But Greeks to this day greet each other with glory be to God. Glory be to God. You do that in America. You do that public in America, well, people want to put you in a straitjacket and send you off into an asylum, right? Because you're crazy. Talking like that in public. You've got to be a fanatic, lunatic. That's Western mass media. That's American culture. Don't talk about religion and politics in public. That's communism. America is a capitalist, communist nation. That's the bottom line. It's had a couple of good decades. Let's say the 50s, when it was making television sets and cars galore, and people could work one job. A man could have any job and support his family. That was a good decade. Then there was the 60s. All hell broke loose. It was the British invasion with their Satanism, even though that was already part of the culture. And it was the communists completely taken over. If you don't believe me, ask the Kennedys, or I should say the late Kennedys. And since then, these have been portrayed as quote unquote victims. And that's what we're suffering from these days, as the very popular now Yuri Bezmenov warned about, but the scripture warned about way before. So yeah, getting to my point here, what does coming to America have to do with xenophobia? I've got a couple of things, a couple of personal stories to share with you to highlight, to demonstrate that. One is my experiences again in Greece, helping with the historical mass migration of Muslims. And back then, being naive as I was, because I was raised in America, and so, I was thinking Islam, Muslims are, hunky-dory, just like me. So I had to learn the hard way. And I realized quickly that these people are being brought in for a couple of reasons. One, that the civilized man, that is the Christian influenced man, even if you're atheist, if you have a standard of morals that are just, you bet your ass it comes from Christianity. You can lie about all you want. That's still the bottom line. You don't have to look further than every other nation that is a Christian for your proof. So I realized, not with this modern civility, passiveness that people have, this unwillingness to do these vile things that people were doing to each other not that long ago. These Muslims are being brought in to be the new Gestapo. And I came to the realization in 2017. About a decade ago. Anyway, the other thing is what I experienced through my father. Now, my father was a great man, and I know you hear that a lot from people. And it may be true for them. And you might call me biased. Oh, I got to tell you, I'm embarrassed to admit, growing up, I had a rough relationship with my father. I don't think too much of him, and I'm ashamed to admit that now. Especially as an adult, looking back not only at his accomplishments, but what a good man he was. Here's an example. So he had some businesses in the South, quote unquote the South, in the 70s. Trust me, people, the 70s, it was quite racist in the South. How do I know? Because my father endured that racism. He had some head come into his shop and throw food at him and start yelling at him, asking him what this trash is. Meanwhile, his little shop was serving all kinds of people out of a little shop that was the size of a food truck, basically. He bought, and eventually made all kinds of money and bought all kinds of restaurants, a chain, small chain. So if his food was that bad, where I don't know how bad food can be, where you take it and you throw it at someone and tell them to get back on the boat. If it was that bad, then why was he so successful? Why was everyone raving about his food? And now that I don't have it anymore, I realize how correct all those customers were. Back then, because I had it, I didn't realize how good it was. I was like, okay, whatever. I want some McDonald's. Anyway, but yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg. A couple decades, let's say a few, he had to come out of retirement because of insurance. He was a smoker, so insurance companies wouldn't cover him. Hey, Darcy, how you doing? And so he felt compelled to come out of insurance. Trump, had changed the laws. He did all that scamming a couple of decades before. He made Chapter 11 household thing. So a couple of laws were changed. And so coming out of retirement, they will not allow him to incorporate his business, but instead forced him to put everything that he owns up for collateral. And he felt forced to do that. I mean, again, he felt he needed to come out of retirement because of growing medical bills that he couldn't afford to pay. And so he built this dream restaurant of his, and this was in 2000. Now, you might remember what happened in 2001. So now he's in debt. The business was doing well, actually. In fact, a few years later, I was driving a cab, and some folks got into my cab, and they started going, "Oh, you're, so-and-so's son. Oh, man, well, I got to thank you, for your dad just brought some class to our community." Like, whoa. I mean, that's quite, he haven't even had politicians from the other side of the state coming to his Not like, it wasn't like the capital of the state or anything, but they knew of his business, and they were regulars of his business. I don't want to name the politicians or anything. I don't want to dox too much, but they're well-known politicians, both of them. So to give you an idea, I mean, the man was successful. He was good at what he did. Yet when 9/11 hit, the xenophobia ranked up, and even though he's Greek, not Arab, after a couple of weeks, people started going back to their regular places, but nobody was going back to my father's place, the Greek. And of course, one thing led to another, and the banks started closing out, and basically taking over all his property. So that was a couple examples for you about xenophobia, but that's just personal anecdotes I could tell you about personally how ugly it is. Here's the problem with this historical mass migration that's been directed, prompted, funded by not only local governments worldwide, but of course by the UN and European Union and so on. It's now fostering this extreme xenophobia again. And it's one that's being projected. In other words, people are right to be disgusted and not want these disgusting terrorists, these pedophilic criminals. Like, I have a fatwa on me for stopping a couple of Muslims from robbing an old man, because it's halal to steal from kafir. So I blame them none. I'm with them all the way, in fact. I would say pack them all up in their holy land, their sacred land. Put them all up one on top of the other in the Kaaba, right? In Makkah. And put a wall around them. And they'll do the rest. They'll kill themselves, just like they keep this. They do as we speak. They're killing each other. The Muslims just don't kill non-Muslims. They kill each other. It's a matter of time before they kill themselves off. Just like the Breitbart art, the last Muslim on earth. Look that up if you haven't seen that. It's hilarious. Yeah. So, but just like that's going to be used as an excuse for the police state with all this, all these people hitting each other for all these Willie Lynch letter type things. One person's got a bigger nose, the other person's got lighter skin, the other person's a little taller. The other person's with the left, the other person's with Palestine, or the other person's Zionist, the other person's with Ukraine. What am I leaving out? All these false dichotomies, that none of which have to do anything with Jesus Christ. They're all an affront. They're all an affront to Christianity. All these things are going to be used not only to establish a police state, but this projection of xenophobia is taking place. Yet another dichotomy. Are you a native? Are you a foreigner? The kicker here is when we talk about America. When Americans have this attitude, I mean, it's asinine, forgive me, but it's completely asinine. America was established by Europeans as we know it. The greatest historical Americans were foreigners that were brought in and given a quick citizenship because of their contributions, Einstein and so on. What the hell are you talking about with your xenophobia? What are you going on about? It's the self-loathing that the libtards have, that the right also has. This hate for your roots, for European roots, but you don't even realize it. And some are going to hate me for saying what I just said. It doesn't change how real it is. And this is me beseeching you to snap out of it, to snap out of this mass media conditioning. It's what it's doing to you, not only mentally, but spiritually. Never mind emotionally. It's corrupting you spiritually. It's taking you away from Christ and having you go against the greatest of two commandments. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Isn't that where all the law hangs on? Koinonia. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. What I should say does that have to do with all this hatred that you hear about the quote-unquote Europeans this day? Your roots, your ancestors. Koinonia. That's the second of the greatest two commandments. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. All right, so that's my rant for xenophobia. Bible quote. Let me just show this to you, by the way. Okay. That's actually from Coming to America 1988. That's Eddie Murphy playing one of many characters. He got criticized in a TV celebrity thing, award thing that they were doing in his honor by his quote unquote peers that were criticizing him for doing these movies and playing all these roles himself. Not giving opportunity to the black person, the black man. But I mean, if you look at his movies, it's nothing but all kinds of other actors, all kinds of opportunities that he gave to black people. Yeah, they criticize him for that. I mean, it's just never enough, is it? But what I find intriguing about this character, and he did it similarly in another movie that we watched, Distinguished Gentleman, about the politics, where he was doing the Yiddish voice and essentially making fun of Jews. He was doing the same thing here again with this character called Saul. Now let this sink in. Saul. Which biblical character is named Saul? Anyone? He's quite a significant character. Who was originally named Saul and then became, drum roll, Paul. Okay? It could be a coincidence, but given how crafty, how dialectic these people are. Hey, Yusuf, how you doing, man? By the way, the link is in the chat if you want to come up and join the panel, but I don't know if you want to come up with this one. All I'm talking about is talking about xenophobia. You might want to get on that one, and racism. So feel free to come up if you want. So yeah, I mean, basically, he's mocking Jews here, but as Eddie Murphy, as a black, he's getting away with it. And he's doing this repeatedly. He's done this throughout his career. I find that fascinating. Even Whoopi Goldberg, which is what I'm going to be doing my next series on. I'm going to do one more on Eddie Murphy on Harlem Nights because it has a lot of actors in it, like Red Fox and Richard Pryor, quite significant actors. So I'm going to take that opportunity to talk about one more Eddie Murphy movie plus all these actors and backgrounds and so on, that kind of thing. But after that, I'm going to do a couple on Whoopi Goldberg, including her pedophilia. Nobody talks about that, but I've got video evidence. And then from there, I'm finally going to go on to Jack Shaheen and this whole propaganda, this rhetoric about the good Muslims and Islamophobia and that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just crazy what some get away with. I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and give. I have one more video to share, but I'm going to wait to share this later. This is a guy that it's Chad O'Jackson. He does a Sunday evening show with a panel. And Chad Blanche, thank you. Blanchard. Blanche is one of the guys who's on his panel. I don't always agree with what Blanche says. I think he's one that takes things too far. But that being said, he's got a lot of good things to say. He's got some pretty good insight. So after I do my little presentation here, we'll share a couple of clips and moments from that video too. All right, so let's get to it. A little lecture here, and I'm going to try to zip through it because it's a lot of slides, but hopefully this is not too bad. Let me see if I can get a bigger screen for you guys. That's better. Okay, actually, you know what? Let me take me off stage. You don't see me. All right. So yeah, coming to America. I've got a couple things going on here. On the far right, it's the place where Hakim is the name of the prince, by the way. The character's name is Hakim. It's very Muslim sounding, but okay, let's say it's that's a coincidence. Because it just so happens that all these movies that are pro-Islam are coincidences, all the way from the very beginning of Hollywood. Just a coincidence. Anyway, all right. So I've also got Trading Places up there, like I mentioned, and you saw in the Cold Start. They're alluding to a sequel and so on, and it's kind of related. The same kind of discussion essentially is in Coming to America to 1988, where you kind of see a role reversal. And don't even mean to sound like some kind of ignorant hick. I understand there's wealth. I mean, you look at the Middle East; it's got the tallest towers to date right now, regardless of who helped them design it or build it. Outside of that, there's definitely some wealth in what we call third world countries, Africa included. So regardless, just things are done in a very Wakanda way. It just happens. This was the original Wakanda. Zamunda was the original Wakanda before the Black Panther movies. So if you not watched this 1988 movie, I got to say, it's really good. I hate to admit it, but even watching it now, this critically, I really enjoyed this movie. I would give it, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I would give it a 9.5. Production value, good laughs, but you've got to suspend your ethics, not your disbelief, but your ethics. You got to suspend your ethics to fully enjoy it. All right, so let's get into it. All right, how do we go to the? Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to do a back and forth. Basically, I'm going to cover each topic, and I'm going to show you the first movie, 1988 version, and then the 2021 sequel under that category. First, we're going to talk about ad placements. Something common, but I think it's quite significant. Coca-Cola is a powerhouse worldwide. In fact, it played a role in the slander that led to the economic crisis in Greece in 2004 Olympics. Remember, for a couple of years, you'd hear nothing on every channel for 2 years, nonstop, about how pathetic, how the Greeks are, how dangerous it is to go to Greece. Nothing but slandering to keep you from going to the 2004 Olympics. Not only quite significant historical thing, but something that was supposed to meant to boost the economy, but instead crippled Greece's economy as a nation. So Coca-Cola, who lost out that bid for the 2004 Olympics, and is a powerhouse when it comes to advertising and influence, no doubt played a role. But of course, McDonald's, ad placement, McDowell's, and that was really popular. We made fun of the whole McDowell's thing and so on and so forth, the generic kind of stealing of a brand. But here's a moment at the 42-minute marker. If I should have had a clip ready, actually, in retrospect, my apologies. But if you watch it, pay attention to when they're getting introduced, when McDowell's getting introduced at this function, this public function, how this actor, which I love, I mean, he played the father character in one of my favorite TV shows from the 70s. It was called Good Times. So, and I've talked about that. I referenced it for different reasons before, but at any rate. So because of that, I still have the scheme on my head as him as that character, this moralistic, traditional father. But so the young lady to his left, our right, he seems to have a good relationship with when you watch the body language. But as soon as he turns to the younger lady on his right, our left, you see the body language get suddenly really awkward. And this static image kind of captures that. You can see even the one on the left, her expression suddenly changes as if now she just got a freeze over her. Now, this is all speculative. It's all speculation. But given how much degeneracy takes place in Hollywood, from casting couch on, you got to wonder. All right. Speaking of degeneracy, this is a statue in one of the scenes at the 1 hour and 46-minute marker. This is the Waldorf Hotel Astoria. Greeks, by the way, live in Astoria, but it's been run down since, unfortunately. So yeah, it reminds me of the Emmys statue. And up front of the BBC building, there's a statue on the left, which is pedophilic, but there's also a statue on the right, kind of angelic thing. I kind of find it fascinating that these questionable places, let's say that, feature prominently these kinds of statues. I don't know what's going on there. I'm not much of I don't do these deep dives or go down the rabbit hole for conspiracy theories. I'm just giving you what you can see for yourself, kind of proofs. And this is a bit of a I wonder kind of moment. All right, at the 4 to 6 minute marker, you can see not only the McDowell's thing, but on the top right, you see a Garfield oddly placed, kind of like levitating. So they went out of their way to place that Garfield there. Make sure you saw it. The lazy fat cat, the comedy thing. There was a thing back in a while back, especially back in the 80s, give or take. But also the Coca-Cola thing at the end. And with the Coca-Cola thing, yeah, you see them even like earlier. Do I not have it? Yeah. So you see this woman on the left. It pans from left to right, and you see all these different people holding the cup awkwardly, and this clearly empty, but they're clapping with this Coca-Cola cup in their hand. It's like they're going out of the way to make sure you got the ad placement. All right, no big deal, but I mean, kind of sort of is. It's still subliminal. So now we go to the 2021 version or sequel. Notice the names, by the way. I mean, it's quite common. Just to see this would just happenstance. Anyway, but yeah, now they're advertising Pepsi, which I find fascinating. 30 years later, 30 plus years later, now Pepsi's funding this horrendous political sequel. The Next Generation. Pepsi, choice of a new generation? I don't know. All right, at the 3 minute marker, it's talking about the carbon footprint, the Agenda 2030, Georgia Guidestones, depopulation. The Green Agenda is talking about burgers that are not made out of meat. It doesn't really say what they're made out of. And the young daughter, not the one you see on screen, but the youngest daughter, delivers this message. We got to be green and, blah, 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 blah. And, my Chinese students, I have to drill them over and over and over again with this crap, by the way. It's insane. Not only do I feel bad for them, I'm starting to feel bad for myself. But again, I don't play that game. That's why I don't have customers right now, because I always sign off with glory be to God kind of thing. God bless you. But also when they start putting out the propaganda, I don't have it. Again, today I was being forced to promote Islam, which I didn't do. I instead spoke the truth about Islam, regardless of what the slide said. And my students appreciate that, even though I know the company doesn't. As we Greeks say, stadhidiamo. All right. At the 26 minute marker, Eddie Murphy in whiteface. That's okay. Like white chicks, hey, no problem there. At the 51 minute marker, there's a Kute Kente reference. Now they make the guys at the barbershop are calling him Kute Kente because he's from Africa. And that's a reference to a TV movie, a TV miniseries called Roots, where the main character is called Kute Kente. And that was, of course, about slavery and the evil white people. Quote unquote. Okay, and so one of them says, "You ain't never met Martin Luther, the King." So one of the guys is talking about how he ran into Martin Luther and he had this exchange. Martin Luther knocked him on his butt. It's probably accurate. And he's like, "You never, not Martin Luther King, but you never met Martin Luther, the King." So all of a sudden, who else do we have? We have George Lloyd, King George Lloyd. We have King LeBron James, that racist scumbag. I mean, who looks like a jihadi. I'm sure there's no coincidence. I mean, the list goes on and on. Like, it's just the kings and queens, or the Woman King. Now we've got that movie and that nonsense. I mean, there's just, yeah. And again, this is a 1988 movie, people. Look at the subliminal thing that's going on right here. All right, at the 58 minute marker, the racist stereotype. Now, Jimmy the Greek in the late 70s, early 80s, I think it was, he was completely blacklisted, no pun intended, because he answered a question in an interview that in a very logical way. He was asked, "Why do you think black athletes are so successful? And they said, well, it has to do with the slave trade and the breeding. They were basically bred to be superior physically. And he got hated on for that. Even Whoopi Goldberg, by the way, in her stand-up, one of her stand-ups, was like, I don't understand why everybody's hating on Jimmy the Greek. Even Whoopi was saying that. Imagine that. She also in the same stand-up chastised CNN. Whoa. How far removed she went from that, right? All scumbags. God forgive me for speaking the truth. Being blunt about it. All right. At the 1 hour and 11-minute marker, okay, this might be a bit of a stretch. This is Louis Anderson. He had a moment. He was semi-popular comedian for a while. I think he even did a game show, Family Feud, for a minute. I could be wrong. I may be mixing memories there. I don't know. But anyway. So yeah, he's basically talking about, and they're making fun of this character now, who's, he's the only white character in this movie, basically. But he's a stupid white character, right? The fat one, the goofy one, the one that he acts like he's kind of slow, and he's bragging now that he's washing the heads of lettuce, and now he's the head lettuce cleaner. And 2 years from now, he's going to be assistant manager because he's going to move up the ladder from cleaning toilets to cleaning lettuce to management, and they're making fun of him for this. Now the guy I just showed you, Blanchard, he would say a lot. Him and his crew would say a lot about that kind of conditioning of black people and how they should hate, well, integrity. Look at what happened to Bill Cosby when he spoke to his own alma mater, his own people. They're ready to kill the guy for saying, pull your pants up and have some integrity. Show some self-respect so people can respect you. Gee, Lisa. So, just so you'll know, regular black folk can't stand that crap. They hate the CRT stuff. They're embarrassed by it. They're embarrassed by what media has done to their people. This fake, fabricated culture, rap music, thug culture. They disown it. Just in case someone got confused by that. And the libtards definitely do. The libtards think all black people are like that. They're the ones that are racist, by the way. It's nauseating. All right. So 2021, the racism there. You can only imagine. And again, this is not a thorough. I didn't pull everything out. Yeah, but it's a 1-minute marker. Use your white voice. So yeah, so the young buck, it's his nephew. That's his uncle talking. Another actor. It makes me want to vomit, by the way. They both do. So anyway, yeah, he's going to go do a job interview. You can only imagine what this is going to be like, right? He's saying use your white voice so you can get the job. Not quite what Bill Cosby said, is it? At the 20-minute marker to 23, it's a long, dragged out scene. Nothing but CRT tropes. You've been judging me, that old thing. Don't judge me. Man, I've only had a nickel every time I heard that one. So yeah, I mean, he basically goes on and he tells the boss off, or I can't remember exactly what, some kind of stupid thing. I mean, it's just, there's no storyline behind their productions these days. There's nothing but propaganda strung together. It's beyond words. 25-minute marker. America has certainly changed. Your black president has finally united this country. Now, this is a 2021 movie. Biden is president. Is it talking about Kamala, the vice president? The one who did nothing? And got appointed, not even voted in to represent the Democratic ticket nation. Who they're talking about? Barack Hussein Obama. America has certainly changed. Your black president has finally united this country. He's the one that went around telling people, his own citizens, they should, quote unquote, rise up. This is before BLM. He's the one that's creating chaos. He got a Nobel Peace Prize for what? For his skin tone? Shouldn't the people that voted him in got the Nobel Peace Prize? Not him. What? He got his Peace Prize for his skin tone? What kind of crap is that? And in these war ceremonies, all of them, they're just, they're Masonic, they're evil. All right, at the 54-minute marker. Benson, okay. So basically, there's a servitude thing going on too. Benson is a character, if you're not familiar, I think it's from the 80s. He was actually, it was a spin-off character. But yeah, I don't know. It just, there's, like 1 minute they're going on about being slaves, and the next minute, Eddie Murphy's king and he's got all these slaves. Can they get the story straight? At the 1 hour marker. Okay. So here he's trying to prove his manlyhood and all this stuff. This, by the way, this is a bastard son of the king. What are they promoting here? What the hell is this movie? We're going to talk more about that. But yeah, they're having a back and forth, and look at the look. I mean, in their face says it all. This black queen shaming this man with a penis, trying to prove him his masculinity, his worthiness. Princesses have it hard too. That's why all the little girls want to be a princess, because they have it hard too. What kind of writing is that? What kind of crap is this? What are they even talking about anymore? Are you serious, this crap? Oy vey. All right. Next thing. Who's sexist? Feminist. All right. Then now back to the 1988 movie. Sexism, feminism, whatever you want to call it. Same difference. The 3-minute marker, Eddie and his cohorts. I mean, look at the servants. If you guys have not seen this movie in 1988 Coming to America, he's basically got royal butt wipers. What the hell? These three are his royal bathers. His royal bathers. Yep, you got it. Whatever you imagine right now, it's true. It's accurate. You nailed it. And this is the crowd going on about sexism right now? Oh, are you serious? I mean, hypocrisy, it doesn't even begin to cover. There's all kinds of layers of their hypocrisy. They contradict themselves in the same paragraph, not the same sentence. What are they even about other than hating Jesus Christ and his followers? What are they even about? Love and evil? 9-minute marker. The divisiveness, a broken home. This is what Shadow Jackson and his group talk about all the time. They focus mainly on communist influence and how that's destroyed the black home. I mean, if you guys haven't, I encourage you to watch the Shadow Jackson. They're not doing things for Christmas. They'll be back in the new year. The last one was a hoot, by the way. He's doing one with Blanchard periodically. The last one he did was with Judge Joe Brown. That's hilarious. I'm actually going to clip some of that stuff and do shorts. I've got several dozen shorts in the making on the shelf. But anyway, it's epic. I encourage you to check that one out, especially if not in any other one. Yeah, you know what? I should include a link. But so yeah. So you see, my son, there is a very fine line between love and nausea. Now that's the king talking about the queen, his wife, and this conversation has actually it actually is a conversation. It's not a monologue. It was actually initiated by her, the queen. She starts poking fun, and it's referencing that the king gives her nausea, and they're talking about love, what real love is, and that's how she's gonna start talking about this conversation in the 1988 movie. Generationally, we've been conditioned to man hate. It goes way back, not only to the burning of the bra burning. Sorry, bra burning of the 60s, but early 20th century, the it girls and so on. That's a fact. Look into it. Yeah, next one. 17-minute marker. Free of infection. Okay, so we've got the introduction of his arranged wife. The woman on the left is supposed to be the wife he's supposed to marry under an arrangement, royal arrangement. And again, this is more of a royalty thing. But he's like, no. I need to find out what she's like before I marry her. And so he pulls her over to the side room, has a private audience with her, and he's trying to get to know her, and she won't answer the questions like, I'll do whatever you like. I like whatever you want and all these things. And he's getting annoyed. He's like, okay, so you do whatever I tell you? She's like, yes. He starts telling her, bark like a dog, hop on one leg, and and there's all kinds of references to that scene in the reboot or the sequel, I should say. So, yeah, but who's being sexist here? So this is Eddie Murphy and his writers and his editors and so on, directors, producers. They're all saying that the woman is a brainless, half-wit slave to the man. That's what they're saying. This is their portrayal. That's what's in their mind and heart. This slanderous lie projection, by the way. Just like the racism. They're the same with the sexism. They're the sexists. At the 59-minute marker. All right, so this is quite significant. Here, this guy on the left, he's a heir inherent of a big Jerry Curl company, Soul Glow, and I'll play a movie. I'm sorry, an audio clip in the closing, so you guys can see that. It's one of my favorite things in the movie. But yeah, so basically, he's sitting with her and he's asking her, well, what can I do for you? Whatever you want, I'll have. You don't need to work. I'll take care of you. Okay, this is a 1980s movie. And she's like, no. I take care of myself. I don't want anything from you. Okay. Yeah, is that really true? Let's say a woman makes more than a man in a married relationship. What happens to that man? Does he not get emasculated? Does not end up in divorce because she has no respect for him? So that's not true, even in that case. What about a man who doesn't have his own car? As the rap song or hip hop songs goes, riding the passenger seat. I mean, where's the respect? You don't need anything from a man? What kind of BS is this? Not only is it breaking in the home, screwing up gender roles, and now we can't even two income families, and you can't even afford to pay the bills. Congratulations on your accomplishment, by the way, and feeding into that. And then complaining. You have everything you want, yet not still the man's fault. For the women that bought into this and propagate this. And complete idiots, useful idiots, as Bismanov said. So he's like, okay, emasculated. He walks off. Okay, I'll get you a drink. Oh, and he takes off. And now Eddie Murphy walks by, the lesser character, and he's like, have a seat. And so what follows after this is Samuel L. Jackson. Actually, you know what? Let me share this. Forgive me for a second, but let me share. Give me 1 minute. It'll take a couple clicks. I got to stop sharing, I think. Yep, I got to stop sharing this. And that. Oh no, that wasn't it. Yeah, no. I got to share this now. Give me 1 second. And I think this may have been Samuel L. Jackson's best role as the character, the criminal who comes into the McDowell's to rob it. It's quite convincing. He's quite scary. It's similar to his role in, what was it, Pulp Fiction? That kind of thing. or even Jackie Brown. Oh, he was really good in Jackie Brown. You haven't seen that one out. You want to see a slam ball California thug? Jackie Brown's it. So yeah, sorry, my apologies. Let's get back to the presentation. Okay. So yeah, basically, the boyfriend gets emasculated all kinds of ways. At the 1 hour and 17-minute marker, she insists on paying the bill because he's poor. Come on, man. Come on, man. Give me a break. Give it a rest, will you? And by the way, she pays the bill. What's now all of a sudden what is he portrayed as, illustrated as? Right? A leech? Grifter? At the 1 hour and 48-minute marker, I thought you were the king. So what's going on is, and then this weird actress that she must have been Eddie's girlfriend or something. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying that's the case, but it's really weird. This role she was given. She's sitting in the passenger seat in the front of the limousine, and she's well dressed, and you don't see her in any part of the movie anywhere else. But she turns around and she looks right in the face of the king and she starts laughing at him after his queen says to him, "Hey, you're worthless. You're a spineless king." Ah, man, so sad, so bad. How many people have been corrupted by this stuff? And this movie, by the way, so many scenes from it have influenced countless of people. The Royal Wiper, famous scene, for example. So many. All right, so now the same topic. Taking a look at the 2021 reboot or sequel. At the 4-minute marker, you see Eddie Murphy, now the king, getting beat up by his 3 little daughters. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for the schmuck. I'm thinking about the Will Smith shenanigans from the award ceremony. I'm embarrassed for Will Smith, the pains that he is. And by the way, you should see a movie from when he was a youth. He was playing a character he's completely getting up the anus in one scene. It's just extremely realistic. I got to wonder about that. All of them are quite. I mean, sexual deviance doesn't begin to cover it. They're all disgusting. Yeah, but this is pathetic. Eddie Murphy, pathetic. I know you got an agenda, but you're pathetic. I mean, you went from being my hero to I'm completely disgusted with you. At the 32-minute marker, for our family or for Zamunda. So he's telling her about his bastard son, right? And he's trying to preach to her doing the best thing. I mean, basically, he's asking her, and she's in charge. Throughout the movie, the queen is in charge. In all kinds of ways. We'll cover that. So, talk about broken home stuff. We're talking about infidelity here, illegitimate child. And this movie actually glamorizes that. And it's probably no big surprise to you these days with all the other crap we got going on. But it's just disturbing. At the 35-minute marker, women aren't allowed to rule, to be queens. So the bastard son will inherit instead of her. She's standing up because she's mad that now she was going to be queen, but now a bastard son's going to take her place because he's a boy. Oh, give me a break. It's like there's been no queen. Let me ask you, how about England? The most famous royalty in world history, arguably, is the British royalty. Can anyone tell me who the longest monarch is in British history? Anyone? Guess. I mean, you might, if you go by Shakespeare's plays, you might say King Richard. And I mean, he had a long span, but that's not it. It's the one that's hated on by modernists. One that's hated on by modernists. Who could that be? One that's hated on by modernists because of her virtue, which they say is fake. Of course they say it's fake because they are fake. Queen Victoria had the longest reign. She's the longest reigning monarch in British history. A woman. Put that in your BS, crack pipes and smoke it. Hollywood. I mean, even the Far East, the Chinese, had female emperors. At the 37-minute marker, begging for sex. How many times we got to see this? I'm just going to leave that there because we already know, even in these circles, what the conditioning is. I mean, but this is pathetic. Purely pathetic. Eddie Murphy, in his delirious stand-up, was talking about the power of the P, P-U-S-S-Y, and how women have a trigger on it, and they control men by their P power. You remember the P power discussion? He played a large role in that. A guy who's like treated women like sex objects to a degree you can't even count, pretending that he cares about women and their integrity. It makes me want to vomit. Give me a break, two-faced scumbag. At the 46-minute marker, to broker peace based on this testosterone? All right, moving on. At the 1 hour and 6 minute marker. Okay, she's laughing at this fake circumcision scene, which I can't quite make odds and ends of it. It's quite freaky deaky and insane and satanic, voodoo-ish. I mean, you got to see to believe, but I want nobody to see this movie. It's just like crap. It's not worth your time. It's just disgusting. Yeah, by the way, why is this little girl actress in these kinds of scenes? I mean, is she not a person? Where are her parents? And that's not the end of it. We'll get to more of that later, but it's disturbing. And this is an Eddie Murphy movie, by the way. At the 1 hour and 9 minute marker. Women are not allowed to own a business in Zamunda? Okay. All right. That's the double-edged sword, right? I mean, I'm just going to leave it there. This is stupid, man. I mean, it's just so stupid. It's not even worthy of response. At the 1 hour 13 minute marker, whatever you like, I am just your wife. Oh man, it's just so stupid. You can't help but laugh. What are they even talking about here? So this is the reference to the, bark like a dog, stand on one leg, jump up and down. All right. So now they got the character again, replay the character. Now the bastard son's, doing the arranged marriage thing, and she's like, "Oh, whatever you like." Give me a break. I mean, how many times have when there was a relationship like this, so to speak, how many times has that queen killed the king to take over? Even Greece. I know Alexander the Great is what on everybody's tongue. His mother is accused of killing King Philip. Now, King Philip, that was a man. He was the guy who united Greece. Alexander the Great, he was a conqueror. When I was younger, it was like, yo, bomb Baghdad, back then when you're young and dumb. Okay. But outside of that, I'm not a big fan of colonialism, regardless, including by Alexander the Great. Not a fan. I'm glad you can make an argument. It's a good thing he did it. He established a universal language in the region. Was significant. But outside of that, not so much. At the 1 hour and 18 minute marker. Like father, like son. That's her, the queen, talking to him, the king. And she goes, this is her speaking, uppity bitch, say what? And he says, what? And she starts laughing at him. Funny things happen when you're drunk and high. I mean, what are we promoting here? And she's making fun of him. And she's referencing, this whole how the bastard son came to being, and they did a flashback in this movie to what happened earlier and how they went to a bar to find a wife. Things got disgusting, and anyway, it's just really bad and wrong all around. But it's a 21st century movie, so 21st century movie, what else to expect? Dystopia and the absolute idolization of, it's one Earth dystopia and the absolute idolization of all that's sinister. At the 1 hour 19, she goes on, bring this country to the 21st century by making her daughter king. The 21st century, we just got through talking about all these female leaders throughout world history, throughout the world. What are they even talking about? At the 1 hour 20 minute marker, do you see me hopping on one leg? Again, another reference to that scene. According to them, all women are worthless, mindless. It's kind of like this. This is why they show solidarity with Islam. They think the same way. They act the same way. That's what they have in their heart. That's what they do. The casting couch is not a conservative thing, quote unquote conservative. Is it? At the 1 hour 23 minute marker, what do you think of your mother would say to know you know instead of, okay, so I mean this scene, all right, it could go either ways. I mean, this one you can argue, yeah, but he has the opportunity here. He's given the king, who's distraught, and comes to him, the father-in-law, for advice, and the father-in-law says, what would your mother say? Why not? What would your father say? Okay, call it a stretch, but in context of things, just one of many things. So obviously the pattern is established here. At the 1 hour 23 minute marker, I'm no warrior. Look at the face on Arsenio Halls. In the first movie, this guy is like dominating. He's calling Eddie Murphy after he knocks him on his butt, the sweat off a baboon's butt or something to that effect. And so on. But here he's like a total pansy throughout the movie. I mean, they emasculated everyone. It's just disgusting. This is the 21st century. And again, this is nothing new as I'm demonstrating, but it's just extremely belligerent now, obnoxiously insatiable. At the 1 hour 27 minute marker, okay, so now we got the bad guys coming in, Wesley Snipes and his crew, the thugs, one of which looks kind of Muslim, by the way, trying to push the king around, and the king is scared of him. Now the king is emasculated, right? He can't defend his own country and his people without cowering and running away from these terrorists. Sad. So he's got his daughters to protect him. He's off in America, and now his daughters are behind. Arsenio can't protect him. His daughters will fight off the bad men. And here we go. In the top right, that is Wesley Snipes. On the bottom of the ground is Arsenio Hall being emasculated. Yeah, and basically he's being led by the little girls, and he's wearing a dress. He's being knocked in his butt by Wesley Snipes, so the girl has got to come in and save him on the top right. And on the bottom left, that's the littlest of the girls looking at one of the terrorists. Guess what she's going to do with that stick? I bet you guys can guess. Where does she hit the man with that stick? The nut shot. How many times we got to see the emasculating nut shot throughout mass media? All right. Standardized sexual deviancy. Here we go. It gets better and better. After this, we're going to get into blasphemy too. So we're progressing, as they say. Progress. Progress means Antichrist. But they digress. At the 5-minute marker, 1980 film. 5-minute marker. The royal penis is cleaned, Your Highness. We mentioned that before. The royal bathers. Oy vey. At the 20-minute marker, have sex with your bathers, like I do. So you want to soak your royal oats. Go to America and soak your royal oats. Have some sex with everyone. Because that's what they do there. I mean, come on, man. Come on. At the 36-minute marker, this is Arsenio Hall dressed up as a tranny. And if I showed you the clip, you'd vomit. It's quite convincing. It's like when Eddie Murphy, plays a fag. I mean, it's just basically, they're just so convincing at it. You got to wonder. Is it acting? I don't know. All right. At the 54-minute marker, they're pushing prostitution. So the oldest daughter gets a mystery gift, these amazing earrings, rubies and so on, diamonds. So the younger sister goes, he's not going to give you earrings like that unless you're giving him a little booty, right? So she's got a secret admirer. She's like, oh, you're having an affair and you're giving it up for some earrings. And that's how this scene ends. That's what they're promoting there. Like normalizing that. Like that's this way. I mean, come on. Stop it. At the 44-minute marker. So here's the youngest daughter gyrating. She's like dancing around, smiling. You can see she's just grinning, elated, to people dancing promiscuously, dirty dancing, to Prince's song, Get Off. Get Off. What is it? 54 positions in a one-night stand. Get Off. I don't know. I can't remember the lyrics, but it's just bad, to say the least. Again, young actress. I mean, there's no telling what music was actually being played at this moment and what she's actually seeing. But with the nutshot scene and other scenes, I mean, it's all questionable. There's something really wrong here. And here's how the movie ends at the 1 hour and 41-minute marker. They're all doing all this crazy gyrating stuff and all that. Sexual Chocolate does a reprise there in the first movie. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute too, with the blasphemy. And so, yeah, she's like, out of all the daughters and people and characters, they've got her up front dancing and celebrating all this disgusting behavior. Why? Why her? Okay, here we go. The anti-Christian blasphemy. All right, we're not doing so bad on time, actually. An hour and 18 minutes in. We're mostly done. Cool. All right, so the 11-minute marker, 1988 film. You would share your bed and fortune with a beautiful fool? That is tradition, to quote the song from Fiddler on the Roof, which is about bashing, quote-unquote, tradition, as mass media has completely undermined, quote-unquote, tradition. Tradition. Yeah, so it's just all kinds of wrong. Is there something wrong with Christian tradition? I know there are some Christians that even actually argue that. We just talked about that in the opening with orthodoxy. It's a 21-minute marker. In 40 days, you'll come back to Mary. 40 days? Where did they get that number from? 40. Come back to Mary. Okay. All right, I see you. The other favorite number is 6, by the way. At the 38-minute marker, only God above And this is this reverend character talking about. Look at his positioning and all that. And look at what he's got on stage. The reverend. And he's comparing God in his speech, his sermon, or what do you want to call it, to Hugh Hefner. The only God above does these kinds of things, provides these things. Eddie Murphy does another speech like that in Vampire in Brooklyn, where, again, there's this minister or reverend outside in public, and he's doing this sermon. And Eddie Murphy goes up there and he starts preaching too, and he's talking about how ass is good and evil is good. And he gives a reason why evil is good. And he goes, well, if ass is good and evil is good, then evil ass is real good, right? All right, Eddie. So this is sexual chocolate. You can see, you can't really see it too well here, but he's wearing a very big prominent cross. And of course, he's singing all kinds of nice, stupid stuff, being vain. And as we mentioned in the sequel in 2021, there's a reprise to them, and they do performance, I guess. At the 1 hour and 4 minute marker, the Reverend again is at a house party. And he's acting all kinds of fool, laughing like a fanatic. And he says, I don't know what, but now she's kind of laughing at him, how absurd he is. So the modeling is to laugh at these crazy fanatic reverends, which has become the culture since. At the 1 hour and 7 minute marker, he goes, Amen. Praise the Lord. He helped this and that. He helped, I can't remember. He helped us, helped Samson beat Goliath. He helped this and that. And he helped Gilligan get off the island. I mean, okay, just bad. I can't help but laugh. It's funny, but to which end? And he kind of comes into the scene. I mean, I know he was standing like we showed there before, but all kinds of things happen. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he comes out and, standing beside her again. And he's like, doing the trope that we need to laugh at or hate on, be disgusted by. And by the way, what's happening here is this deception. Her boyfriend went, sorry, spoiler, her boyfriend went to her father, and without even talking to her, said that she agreed to marry him in front of everyone. Now, all of a sudden, she's been put on the spot. And this moment of deception is when now the Reverend comes up again, and he's saying these silly things, and we're supposed to laugh at him. So that's also Pavlovian, of course. At the 1 hour and 13 minute marker, for God's sake, Akeem, again, that Muslim name. Akeem is the prince. And in the sequel, he becomes the king. You don't have to take my pocket money. And by the way, it's advertising the American Lung Association with a cross on it. I got to wonder about that organization now. I remember it was quite popular back in the day. But March of Dimes and all them, I just feel Masonic now that I'm a bit wiser. I could be wrong. I have no proof of that, but I still have to wonder. At the 1 hour and 23 minute marker, GD, now what the hell have you boys done in here? And that's the landlord complaining that they fixed up the apartment. Being materialistic. He's complaining about the avarice. Imagine that, using these words, thanks to the writers. At the 1 hour and 41 minute marker, so this is the boyfriend who's been rejected, and he's out in the rain. He's coming out, and you can see he's got a shirt open and a big cross, just like we saw with the sexual chocolate and all that. Daryl, his name is Daryl. He's got the same thing going on. And he comes into the little sister's bedroom out of the rain, and now she's going to undress him, and you know what's next. So this is Pavlovian. At the 1 hour and 44-minute marker, it wouldn't work out. You're royalty, for God's sake. So now she's rejecting him. She feels inferior. Oy vey. At the 28-minute marker, oh my God! All right, so this is the blasphemy here in the 2020 sequel, reboot, whatever. So they're talking about here how they met in a bar. Yeah, and basically she got pregnant while he was drunk. Took advantage of him, basically. And now they have a bastard son together. Oh my God. At the 29-minute marker. Okay, so you thought that was a stretch? How about this line by the writers and editors, director, producers, actors? Mary like the Virgin. Okay, so Mary like the Virgin? She's comparing herself to Mary like the Virgin. At the 1 hour and 5-minute marker, you can see this is pro-cult. This is a circumcision taking place with this voodoo witch thing on the left. It's hard to tell if it's male or female. It's a 2021 film. That's not a coincidence. He's dressed up in some kind of Masonic-looking outfit. I know it looks African, but also looks Masonic. And he's getting circumcised as part of their pagan tradition. Okay. All right. I don't understand this part. This is the weirdest scene in sequence, I should say. But there's that it thing. You can't tell what it is, male or female. Baphomet worshippers. Yeah. Glamorizing, idolizing a character like they always do. It's supposed to be eating the foreskin. Now, again, for those who are not familiar, you know what? Let me take a moment here and brace yourself for those that are, Zionist or whatever your shit is. I'm going to get real again for a minute, but this is significant. Okay. Here we go. Hasidic. Okay. Check this out for yourself. I mean, what's going on here? All right, 1 second. Remove. I don't want this. I want to stop sharing. I want to change sharing. I guess I got to stop sharing. All right. Sorry, folks. Okay, so I got to share this. Let me remove it. 1,000 clicks. All over again. Okay, so check this out. On stage. This is a search you can do for yourself. We're talking about bar mitzvahs. Why my son underwent whatever. The Rabbi Cosmo was so for Orthodox Jews clash over oral circumcision rite. This is Times of Israel. You got to argue that's credible. I could be wrong. The Orthodox Jewish tradition known as oral suction circumcision reaches back to biblical times. No. That's much later. And what's his name? We'll let you know about that. Radar. This is a later practice where the baby is snipped and then the rabbi bends over and starts sucking the baby off. This is the Third Temple Jews that everyone's being a Zionist over. What's the difference between them and Muslims again? I'm sorry. These anti-Christian freaks. It's disgusting, man. Disgusting. All right. So, yeah. Eddie's like making all kinds of references to that. And I never looked up the cabal. I keep hearing about it. First time I heard about it was when Donna said she was part of the cabal. And then a Brazilian friend who was all about this Jewish stuff. He was like a talk about Zionist, doesn't even begin to explain this guy. But he mentioned it, so I don't know. You want to talk about it, I wasn't interested. I still haven't looked it up. I don't care. I don't need to. Just talking about Hollywood is plenty enough, as my father used to say. Plenty enough. Oh, by the way, this is a perfect time for this one. For those of you that are pissed off at my sharing of facts.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah. For show. All right. At the 1 hour and 15 minute marker. Again, the Christian bashing continues, of course. Yeah, so these earrings, they look kind of Christian or whatever, but they're really Egyptian Anks. And you see that quite often in movies where these Anks almost look like crosses. It's could be coincidence. Could be coincidence. Maybe that's a stretch. Whatever. At the 1 hour 26 minute marker. I mean, what else does he said here? There's the Reverend again. The same one from the 1988 film, the character, I should say. But you see him doing all kinds of absurd things, being a pervert, talking about perverted things. Of course, he's wearing the cross in the background. Christ is risen on that banner in the far back. You see the Last Supper with black Jesus. Just all kinds of blasphemy here. All kinds of stuff. Okay. At the 1 hour and 32 minute marker. This is a house of God, isn't it? And the response is more like a crack house of God. Okay, and this is right out immediately follows the speech he gives about true love and this with all this Christian imagery, as you see. Oh man, it's just disgusting. Disgusting, man. Disgusting. Doesn't begin to describe it. At the 1 hour and 40 minute marker. Racist Mason or what? But you look at that outfit, it's this quintessential, okay, you can say Scottish Rite, maybe, I don't know. But looks like with all the badges and all that, it looks extremely Masonic. And of course it's he's gyrating, it's sexual, which also alludes to that. Okay. Now some other things that we see that are standard in Hollywood. All right, going back to the 1988 film. At the 7 minute marker, we see the avarice, the absolute extreme materialism. Now, how it's glamorizing that. It's supposed to idolize that. It's not very scriptural. Well, I mean, it is actually scriptural. I'll take that back. But in the way that's like, well, it's promoting the vileness, what deviates from God. At the 1 hour and 9 minute marker. So again, this discussion about her being forced to marry Daryl because her father really likes him because he's rich. And Daryl just going up there and acting a fool and announcing that they're going to get married even though he didn't talk to her. Nobody does that in all reality. But this storyline was created to make this forced straw man so you can hate traditionalism. Even though you yourself never had that kind of experience. I've witnessed that kind of experience. My sister was set up. Arranged marriage. An arranged marriage in that she had every choice to reject. In fact, the first arranged marriage my parents tried to set up with her, she did reject. And lost out on that. The second one, she accepted. And the man literally gave her everything she ever could ask for. Literally. Did. Including home from scratch or whatever. Sold everything he owned to do that, to set her up. Still unhappy, of course. But I don't want to get off on a tangent there. But yeah, I mean, that's the real traditional marriage. Outside of royalty, where pacts are made so nation can join forces with a nation, and then therefore you're going to marry this child even at a young age. That's on the British. That's royalty. It's neither here nor there, even when it comes to Jewish tradition. Yeah, there's still a right to refuse. So it's all BS. Hollywood is full of it, through and through, because they're anti-Christian. Okay, so the 2021 film at the 2-minute marker. Teach the girl some respect. And again, there's this jihadi-looking scumbag that he's talking to tell him to beat up on the little girls, which they do. Or the little girl. She's by herself at this point. Then she gets rescued by her sisters. Not the guard, not the man at arms who's trained the prince/king. No. He's a coward now. The little girls come and save her from these jihadis with a nut shot and so on. Oy vey. At the 19-minute marker, oh hell no, Your Majesty. About him going back to America to, find the bastard son and all that. At the 53-minute marker, walk, and again, are they America bashing here, by the way? At the 53 marker, walk your own path. Okay, so basically, forget your parents. Is this not, for those of you who love to fixate on Old Testament, is this not one of the 10 Commandments? Honor your mother and father, or against it? At the at the 57-minute marker. Okay, so this elephant, it wasn't that long ago where we had trained animals. Not even the animals don't have a job thanks to AI. You got all kinds of Sony Oriental people that got a job, Indian people that got a job. BRICS is taking over. But it's supplanting animal work. Oh, baby. It's just pathetic. You can't even appreciate a scene like this. Not that long ago, a couple of decades ago, even an elephant walking by an actor was like exhilarating. Because at any moment, an elephant will do what animals do and just attack you for no reason. And so it was a stunt. There's no stunt here. You don't feel anything. See, it's a soulless. At the 1 hour, 19-minute marker, all kinds of things happen when you're drunk and high, like making babies. Okay, so she's speaking against it, but they keep doing. This sequence, by the way, she's getting drunk. She's having a good time with her girlfriend, and her girlfriend, who is it? It's the baby mama. It's the baby mama. Now they're BFFs. They're best pals all of a sudden. They're getting drunk together, having a good time, laughing it up. It's just stupid. That isn't stupid. Doesn't cover it. At the 1 hour, 25-minute marker, the cheapest place for a nuptial. It's just. Why not go to the courthouse? I don't know what to say. I'm just tired of it all. All right, so thankfully we got through the presentation. Let me get rid of that. Okay. All right, so let me show you guys a couple of things. We've got the Bible quote. Get rid of that. We've got Saul the character, Eddie Murphy playing Yiddish Jewish guy, making fun of him, which is okay because he's black. Let's show this one. Yeah, we showed you the weird statues in front of the BBC and the Emmy Awards and in front of the Waldorf Astoria that was in Coming to America. So What else do we have? China, Umar Mosque. Oh, that's coming up. Yep. We're probably gonna do the Fourth Crusade, the Crusade movie tomorrow, and we've got another discussion that many of you won't like for that. But I mean, facts are facts. If you're hating the truth, then there's a problem. That's all I got to say to you. I mean, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Applies to all. Sins of the father rhetoric. I'm so tired of that. All right, yeah, all of it's just this one from. All right, let me just share this tab instead. Come on, there it goes. Finally, it's working. Is it not? Yeah, there it is. Okay. Stage. All right, so let me share first his description of why he does what he does, which I am often at odds with him and them. Like, they use the label the Black Church, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I hate that, actually. And Chad gave an explanation of why he used that. And I get it. I get the explanation. It'd just be better to use one or two extra words to be more specific and accurate as to what you're trying to say, instead of just saying the Black Church and saying all these things about it. I'm not a fan of that. That's just in itself blasphemous, whatever. But yeah, so he gives another explanation. So let's listen in. And this is not Chad or Jackson. This is Blanchard. He is Blanche.
At the foundation of all of it is the Black experience in America. How we view this world comes through the lens of what Black people have experienced in America. You can take any issue and you can backtrack it, and it goes back to the relationship that Black people have had with this country. And so when I do these videos, I really want to show the truth, and for a reason. And it's because what has happened is a narrative has been created. And that narrative has set up the dynamics for the entire planet. And that is a oppressed, oppressor narrative.
Okay. So here we're talking about a false dichotomy again, right? We're talking about a false dichotomy again. Lo and behold. All right. So, you guys hear me? Yeah, I guess you can hear me. I can't tell if I'm speaking or not, but hopefully you can still hear me. Let's keep going.
That narrative spirals into everything. So when we talk about Agenda 2030 and the sustainable goals, at the crux of it is people being oppressed. We have to solve the problem. At the crux of Agenda 2030, it is them saying the people of the world are oppressed and we must come and save them.
All right. So, yeah, and also Agenda 21. These are documents that are real that you can see for yourself. I mean, yeah, so basically it's way more than just that. It's way more than just communism. Something they don't talk about is Freemasonry. They will talk about the lockdown and rebuke that, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, I mean, basically, it's just this pure evil. It's this idea. It's just absolute avarice, right? Isn't it? Maybe a better word. Let's use this word. Rapacity. All right. Rapacity. I'm going to put this in chat. And yeah, I mean, I'm forgetting for laughing. It's just, it gets to the point where you don't know what else to do.
We look at politics. Politics has become pretty much a black and white issue. If you're for the country, you're white. If you're against it, you're black.
And I got to say, this phenomenon, whatever mass media propagates in America, doesn't stay in America, like Vegas. Unfortunately, America is the beast. I'm sorry if you hate or not. www.666, that's an American innovation. That is the mark which the beast has. It's created. And American mass media has influenced an entire planet for a century now, over a century. More, really. I'm just talking about Hollywood. I mean, it goes, radio, print, but internet now, as I mentioned. I mean, the power of the internet in just a decade. Look what it did. The power it had over us during the lockdown. But before that, what it's doing now, everything's AI, replacing God with all this censorship. What they call cancel culture. Yeah, let's just keep going.
But I want to talk today about what's behind the mask. And what's behind the mask of blackness is Satan. Satan is hiding behind that mask.
I need to clarify something for him. So he's talking to an audience that follows him, that already knows all these arguments he's already made. So when he's talking about blackness, he's talking about this mass media fabrication, this boys in the hood, thug culture, fake subculture that's now being put on all black people by the left, the not right, the Masonic militia. So that's what he means by that, not black people.
It doesn't mean that all black people are Satan. Doesn't mean that. What it means is Satan is using blackness to run cover as he ushers in the Antichrist.
Yeah, and we see that in Hollywood. I mean, what else needs to be said there? And yeah, I mean, the Antichrist, it's said that will come from the tribe of Dan, Jewish. Tribe of Dan currently is, well, it's under siege by Israel, the state of Israel, I should say. Israel is a people, not a place. But yeah, so it's under siege. It's not Syria. No, it's Lebanon. And there's some reports that the Omar Mosque has been destroyed online. Others have refuted that. I don't know what to believe. But if it's true during this, there's quote-unquote retaliation, that it's been destroyed now, yeah, it's been leveled. Now there's room to rebuild the third temple. Just so happens. And all this sponsored, funded by who? By Jew-owned America, UK, so on. All right, let me jump ahead a little bit here. Here we go. This is from a scene from Boys in the Hood. I've actually used it myself in a different live stream. But the speech is famous as he discusses, and I'll share the link to this live stream. Let me do that now so don't forget. In chat, so you can watch all of it yourself. I don't agree with everything he says, especially in this live stream. So I'm arguably cherry picking here. But I definitely agree with these parts. And this scene, again, it's insanely influential. It's full of it. Makes some brilliant points here, though. All right, let me just shut up and let you hear him say it.
Now, in this scene, I want you to look at before Furious Styles is about to preach and enlighten these young brothers on what's going on. They don't even feel safe where they are.
By the way, that's you might have recognized that actor from The Matrix, maybe a little older, shaved head. Lawrence Fishburne. The ever wise one. Oy vey. Morgan Freeman, always portrayed as the ever wise one. Come on, man.
I see they right off of Fifth Ave over there. You know, Fifth Ave over there off of Slauson. You know, I used to, back in the day, my ex, grew up on Fifth Ave and Slauson. But anyway, so you see these young men get out the car and they're looking around because they know it's dangerous. Now, there aren't any white people around, so why would they be afraid? There aren't any police around. There aren't any white people around, no KKK, no white nationalists. Nobody's around. So why are these young men get out of the car looking around fearing for their safety?
Because Trump is hiding behind trash can. Trump is going to destroy the world. Or the right would say, oh, he's going to save the world. Everyone was doomed until Trump won the election. Now they can breathe a sigh of relief. Now is Trump going to save them? Not Jesus Christ? Come on, man. Palpable insanity.
As they're about to get the speech on consciousness.
Hey man, I don't know about all this fury. I was walking around motherfucking Compton and all, man. Rick, it's the 90s. Can't afford to be afraid of our own people anymore, man. Did you two knuckleheads come on?
Did you say 90s we can't be afraid of our own people anymore?
Listen to what he says. Listen. Now think about all the killing from gangs and the drug selling and all the violence. Listen to what he says.
Two knuckleheads come on? What's up, people anymore, man?
Part of the language, but it is rap music, after all.
Hey man, I don't know about all this fury.
And there's a lot of Jews that produce rap music. And a lot of Jews that created rap music themselves as a rap artist. I mean, Beastie Boys, when I was young, was a Jewish band, group, so to speak, that was rap music. Again, also produced by a Jew producer and a rap artist. So, yeah, I know they have their own recording studios and so on. But predominantly, especially from onset, it was all Jew produced.
I was walking around motherfucking Compton and all, man. Rick, it's the 90s. Can't afford to be afraid of our own people anymore, man.
He said it's the 90s. We can't afford to be afraid of our own people anymore. Now, it's people dying every day where they are, either dying or getting shot, babies getting aborted, crack being sold, crack being smoked, babies going into the system, somebody getting robbed, somebody. And this man said, this is a movie, but this is art imitates life. And this is Hollywood trying to make you comfortable with your community being a place of death, destruction, and damnation. So he says it's the 90s.
I've got to disagree. Actually, in all reality, and anyone else still disagreeing with this, especially after the lockdown, I don't know what else to tell you. But quite on the contrary. Life imitates art. Or to put it another way, culture is downstream from Hollywood or mass media.
We can't afford to be afraid of our own people anymore. So they want you to believe that all of this stuff that you're seeing, that this is nationwide in these black inner cities, all that you're seeing, you shouldn't worry about that. Just come around your people and risk your life. And then as you sitting there laying down and you stop, just say, we got to stick together. That's what they want. They want you to be a martyr. He's out here trying to help us, man. We got to come together. That's what they want.
Yep. I mean, going back to that Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Georgia Guidestones, take your pick, on and on. That's what they want. They want you dead. Whether you're offing someone else or you're offing yourself, they want you dead. They want more resources to themselves. And now that they got the AI and the robots, thanks to Musk, to serve them, and all our free work via YouTube and so on to entertain them, you're a bunch of useless eaters. Blue collar, white collar, doesn't matter.
They want somebody to die because Satan always requires a blood sacrifice. So they want somebody to die. And then when the blood is shed, they want to say, okay, now let's come together and talk. That might last for a couple of months, but it'll go back to the killing again. And so my point is, even these movies, it was so bad that Hollywood said, we got to change this narrative because we're not going to be able to push this future agenda. We won't be able to do it. We got to justify why black folks are acting this way.
Rap music. I mean, this behavior existed before, but by large part, rap music. This is real life, yo. This is how life really is. You know how many white people told me that? Ay vey. I mean, just stupidity doesn't cover it. It really doesn't.
Did you two knuckleheads come on? Want y'all take a look at that sign up there? See what it says? Cash for your home. You know what that is? Built for. What are y'all, Amos and Andy? Are you stepping and he's fetches? I'm talking about the message, what it stands for. It's called gentrification. It's what happens when the property value of a certain area is brought down. Huh? You listening? Yeah. To bring the property value down. They can buy the land at a lower price. Then they move all the people out, raise the property value, and sell it at a profit.
So,
and before he says anything, let me just recently had an issue with that backstage. Someone brought up the gentrification, quote unquote, of a certain community, which I lived in and barely got out of with my life intact because of my skin tone. That wasn't the only community that I lived like in. It was like that for me. And yeah, so they wanted to say, okay, well, that neighborhood is no longer like that. Yeah, now the criminal elements have been chased out, and it's been built up, and now the yuppies are moving in, and they use the word yuppies. Okay, all right. And I mentioned the example of South Boston, where people were blowing each other up, stabbing each other, shooting each other, just a few decades ago. But that criminal element had been ended, and now the yuppies had moved into South Boston, and now the real estate price has gone up in South Boston. You can't afford to get a place there anymore. Thing is, that destroyed this rhetoric, this boys in the hood rhetoric that everyone wanted to repeat ever since this movie came out. Because South Boston, if you know anything about the United States or Boston, you know that South Boston is Irish. You can't get much more white than Irish. You know, Scandinavian, arguably. Same difference, really. Now what?
if you notice what Furious Styles said, he said they lower the property value. So I want to ask you all a question. Who is this they lowering the property value when the neighborhood is all black? Who is this they making the property value lower?
It's the FBI. The CIA did it. Oy vey.
Top Herc asked a question, and he said, Blanche, why only the light-skinned dudes have the knowledge? I asked, listen, I can't, you're right. Top Herc said, why is it only the light-skinned black dudes got the knowledge? And they the most revolutionary. They always kick it. We done seen it from Huey P. Newton to Farrakhan. We done seen it. Huey P. Newton, the Farrakhan, the Juicy Smollett. But
I think he's being facetious here. I'm not sure.
But he said they bring the property value down. It's called gentrification. So my question is, how does it actually work? Were white people coming in and just taking property? No. No. The property value was lower because the neighborhood was uninhabitable. Nobody in their right mind, if they had options, would live there. Why would I live somewhere where folks are dying every day, drugs are being sold on the streets, and it's normal? The children can't read and write on grade level, and it's normal. Babies out of wedlock, and it's like, why would somebody live in this area if they had a choice to live somewhere else? So the property value is brought down because nobody wants to live there. But of course, the man with the knowledge is going to blame this infamous they.
Everyone else's fault. I mean, and if anybody says anything like Bill Cosby, have some integrity. Well, they're made enemy of the state. State of Israel? I don't know. Just kidding. Yeah, enemy of the state.
We need to do is we need to keep everything in our neighborhood, everything black owned with black money, just like the Jews, the Italians, the Mexicans, and the Koreans do.
Ain't nobody from outside bringing down the property value. It's the
Oh, this is a 90s film. Because these days they talk about of color. Like white isn't a color. Everything else is a color. He just went down a list of all kinds of color people, including Jews. Jews get pissed off if you call them white, by the way. Okay.
these folks shooting each other and selling that crack rock and shit.
Well, how you think the crack rock gets into the country? We don't own any planes. We don't own no ships. But we are not the people who are flying and flying.
Say hello to my little friend. I'm a Cuban refugee. Okay, another movie that everyone wants to quote, influenced all kinds of people. Everyone wants to be Scarface. And by the way, Al Pacino's Scarface is a reboot. They already did a Scarface in the mid-20th century, black and white film. Interesting. So it's the white man. All of a sudden, the Cubans, the Colombians, they're white. They're not of color. Okay.
Floating that shit in here. I know every time you turn on the TV, that's what you see. Black people selling the rock.
Right.
By the way, mass media wanted to insist that George Zimmerman was white. I know Zimmerman is a Jewish name. He was half white, half Hispanic. He identified as Hispanic. But in that case, what he identified as didn't matter. Just like with, by the way, Tiger Woods, who identified as quote-unquote Asian. Nobody wanted, mass media didn't want to hear that. They always labeled him as black. He hated that. He publicly kept saying it. But, you know, they got to have their propaganda, their Euro bashing, basically, what it comes down to, what we call CRT these days.
Pushing the rock, pushing the rock. Yeah, I know. But that wasn't a problem as long as it was here. It wasn't a problem until it was in Iowa and it showed up on Wall Street where there are hardly any black people. If you want to talk about guns, Why is it that there's a gun shop on almost every corner in this community?
Why?
Tell you why.
I'll tell you why. It's called supply and demand. Economics 101. People want to buy booze, a liquor shop's going to open up. People want to buy guns, a pawn shop's going to open up selling guns. Do you think?
For the same reason that there's a liquor store on almost every corner in the black community. Why? They want us to kill ourselves.
Now,
What about the drugs? What about the street pusher, the rock slinger? They want you buying drugs, or is there a demand for it? Come on, man. Where's the integrity? Where's the integrity? It's everyone else's fault. Okay.
keep in mind, I was young when this movie came out. And I remember this scene being the most powerful scene in the movie. Because what this scene did was, what he just did was he just justified all of the carnage that black folks were committing. So when the old man comes, and again, this is how Satan works. Satan is going to make you choose between good and evil. Whether you want to make the choice or not, he's going to make you choose. So the old man comes
Can I get an amen?
up and he says, it ain't nobody from the outside bringing this property down. It's them. And Furious Styles says, we not flying the drugs in here. We don't own any planes. So now, when he says that, that gave black people a pass to continue to do what they're doing. I remember all throughout the 90s, they kept saying.
Did you catch that? He's going to reiterate that, but pay attention to what he just said. It's quite profound. I never crossed my mind. I hate to admit it, but yeah, it never crossed my mind.
And we don't fly it in here. Think about the character of a nation that if Satan puts a vice in front of you, you have to indulge in it. Even if there was a government plot and conspiracy to take down the black community, who made you indulge? Like, who made you want to kill somebody in your neighborhood over a color or even over money? Who made you want to sell drugs to women and children?
So, women and children, there you go. No barriers, no inhibitions. I mean, and he mentioned something. I hope you caught that too. Killing over color. He's talking about black people in the hood killing over color. You got the Hispanics killing the blacks. You got the Irish killing the Italians. You've got, the blacks killing the whites. I mean, I've been through all kinds of stuff myself. Most of my abuse that I had to endure and fight back on, by far, was from black people. Now, that being said, I've had some really good experiences from black people too. One of my best friends was black. Best friend. Yeah, so it's kind of like you go to a small town. It takes a while for people to get to know you. So at first it might be a little guarded. But once they accept you, man, it's like, and I'm not saying I was pretending to be a wig or anything back in the day, was where we used to use. No, I mean, to some degree, yeah. If I'm going to be completely honest, I did that to some degree, some points in my life. But no, just being me, enjoying what I liked. And just being real. I was Greek American, and therefore I never fit in. I was always the outsider. And as an outsider, they can recognize that in me and can relate to that. I think that's what it was. I think that was a large part of it. But I wasn't one of them. I wasn't one of the rednecks that posed the threat, but something else. And so it was easier for them to adopt me. But I remember being a truck driver, driving 18-wheeler across country. and getting in bad situations and ending up in places like a hood-like thing, and having to get, I mean, this is back when, before GPS and all that jazz. So yeah, I had to do the old-fashioned thing and like, hey, you know what? The map, this road atlas, read it wrong, led me astray. How do I get out of here? And black folks that didn't know me, that were, you know, standing in front of the store. You know what that means if you've lived in that kind of neighborhood. Hey, yeah, this is how you go. They didn't trick me. They didn't lead me down into a bridge to get stuck or anything like that, but led me out. Didn't shoot me because I'm white. Yeah. So that exists too. But I've also been in neighborhoods that, I mean, were chomping at the bit to do me dirty, to just destroy me, right? To torture me just because of my skin tone. I've had rocks thrown at me repeatedly because of my skin tone. I mean, I've already talked about this in the past, but the list goes on and on and on. So it's both. It's both.
Children. Who made you want to be a whoremonger? Like think about what goes on in the black community and ask yourself, why is it that anytime it comes to a vice, that black people automatically have to indulge in it? Like, where did that thought come from? It came from programming and propaganda. The old man just said, it's not.
I couldn't agree more. You got to play it again because it's music to my ears. My heart sings when he says this.
A hormone. Like think about what goes on in the black community and ask yourself, why is it that anytime it comes to a vice, that black people automatically have to indulge in it? Like, where did that thought come from? It came from programming and propaganda.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. Right? On and on and on and on. That's what came from.
The old man just said, it's not nobody from the outside bringing the property down, because the old man, think about how long he's lived. He's seen the deterioration of his community. He's seen it firsthand. And so he knows that the more white folks left, the worse the community got, because they call it white flight. White flight is the biggest indictment on black culture, because it literally proves that when white folks aren't around, black people get worse.
Yeah, wasn't it the BLM leader who faced all kinds of things and charges because of all her corruptness, who bought this multi-million-dollar home, embezzled money in a white neighborhood? As I say, you can't make this stuff up.
And so the old man says, it's not anybody from the outside, it's these people in here. And so Furious Styles goes ahead and literally, this is one of the most detrimental scenes in cinematic history. This is one of the most detrimental, and there'll be another scene like this when it comes to, you know, movies on like pedophilia or molestation. There'll be another scene like this. There'll be another scene that you'll look back on and say this was a pivot. But this scene right here was very instrumental in the destruction of the black community, because what it did was just gave black folks a pass, do what they were doing. I remember all throughout the 90s, black folks kept saying, we're not flying it in here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, enough can be said about that. And you got to appreciate his candor. All right, let's take a look at a Richard Pryor film. Speaking of which, excuse me, the next Eddie Murphy film, finalizing the last one I'm going to do in that series is going to be Harlem Nights with Richard Pryor. So we'll talk a bit about Rich Pryor and Red Fox, who paved the way for the rest of the scum. But yeah, let's take a look at The Mech from the 70s.
Bunch of foolishness.
California is a weird state because they have laws for pedestrians. You know, like you cross the street, they have laws for pedestrians, but they don't have laws for people at night when cops accidentally shoot people. I mean, they accidentally shoot more niggas out here than any place in the world. Every time you pick up paper, niggas accidentally shot in the ass. How do you accidentally shoot a nigga 6 times in the chest?
Is he talking about Crossfire from Thugs in the Hood? Or not? He doesn't want to talk about that, I'm sure. And again, this is a 1970s film. This is Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, piece of shit, coke addict. I have no respect for the man. You know, I really don't. I don't know if I ever did. I might have liked him a little bit back in the day when I was young, but I was young and dumb and full of cum, as they say. So, you know, did all kinds of stupid things. God forgive me. So, yeah, I mean, so this is 70s propaganda. This is the BLM propaganda being pushed in the 70s. And of course in the 60s too, right? But we don't look at it that way because it's portrayed to us in a different way. Maybe not these days after BLM. I think it's waking up a lot of people, not woke people, but people who are starting to wake up from their mass media stupor. Glory be to God in all things. But it's still predominant worldwide because people that don't live in America, that only have this mass media propaganda to go by, actually believe all this BS. That's the problem. You don't have no idea how many Chinese students ask me about how I feel about black people or, you know, any kind of propaganda, racist crap that, or, you know, sexism or you name it. They buy it all. They think it's reality.
Well, my gun fell and just went crazy.
And you see, even Richard Pryor, and this is what I mean. You know, we had a show with Judge Joe Brown, and so much of the nostalgia behind black is based on a lie. And so folks have an emotional attachment to this moral hierarchy they believe that black folks kept.
Let me speak to that. And just recently through these guys, I can't remember if it was on his show, here Blanche's show. He was Blanche or Chad or Jackson. I think it was Chad or Jackson. I can't remember. At any rate, I was challenging the rhetoric. Oh, I think it was here in Blanche's show, but Chad addressed it too. I challenged this use of the black church, and you know, I said, look, you know, it's my understanding that black people, black Christians, name, and not Muslims, and those kind of scum. Black Christians are actually very deeply rooted, very spiritual people. And so why are you going on about the black church and its shortcomings? And he asked me, and then after he asked me, I had to think about it and admit and realize, embarrassingly so, yet again, I get another revelation. He asked me, well, where did you get this impression? Where did you get it? So I thought about it, and yeah, doy. I realized, and I'm embarrassed to admit, I've never been to a quote-unquote black church. I've never been invited to one, but I never went to one. So how would I know? I realized then it was through mass media. My schema, the idea that was burned in my head, was completely from mass media. And if I'm honest with myself, I'm thinking about now when I was a young child and therefore scarred by this experience, seeing black people coming into a convenience store, all dressed in their Sunday clothes. And I was like, oh, excited because, you know, I didn't go to church. I was in a restaurant business. I was in a convenience store to take a break even as a young child. So on Sundays, we had our restaurant open. We go to a church. We barely went. So when I saw people coming from church, I was like, oh, cool, look at that. And they were young. They were older than me, several years older than me, but still young young adolescents. And they were being loud, as black people do. And one of them, it was a couple of males and a young lady. And one of them was chasing around, so to speak, not literally, but kind of following the young lady around. They came close to me where I was at the arcade. And he started talking to her about how he's going to do, sexual things to her, and he's going to strip his cum. Forgive me for the language here. Hopefully, there's not children who understand what I just said. And if there are children who understand what I just said, you've got to question that. Anyway, so as a young child, I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but I knew it was sexual, and there was something wrong. There was something disgusting about what he was talking about. And these are people just coming from church wearing the Sunday clothes. And that's my very few, only one I can remember of black church people experience. So, I mean, you can't base all the black church, as they call it, on that one moment. But if I'm going to go on personal experience, that's all I got. Otherwise, what I've got in my head is people being very religious, very pious, very passionate about Jesus. But that comes from mass media. And Blanchard and Chad are saying the black church has been influenced or infiltrated by communist influence and has contributed to the degradation of black culture and to the destruction of the home, but also completely racist. And I had shown a clip about a year ago, give or take, when I was doing movie reviews with Amir Zidane about a black, now I realize full on is a minister and a leader of what they're calling the black church, who was taking a hammer and bashing the Virgin Mary statue, bashing a cross with Jesus Christ on it, and doing it in the name of righteousness. I mean, what else needs to be said here? I mean, this stuff goes way back and has infiltrated all sorts. Even the faithful will be deceived. That's scriptural. Wolves in sheep's clothing, on and on. And mass media monies. Mass media moneyism is a real problem. It's generational. We're all victims of it. I myself have been a mass media money for most of my life, and then I talk about it regularly. I still combat it as someone who spends most of my time on a computer every day. Certainly combat it. It's not good. It's hard to say anything good comes out of it, even in our circles. These Christian apology circles, I keep getting more and more disillusioned. I'm sorry to say. And some of them argue, of course they do. Thousands, tens of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you guys today. I should be doing another live stream tomorrow. We're going to be doing a watch party for the Crusades and doing a discussion on that. Yeah, buckle in for that one. And after that, of course, it's Christmas. I'm going to take some time off. Focus on, working on a project. I'm doing a new intro video for someone and some graphics. The graphics especially. And also I'm trying to edit my own children's book. The first one I wrote, completed years ago. At this point, I need to get it out there. So I'm going to self-edit again and put it out there on Amazon, which I don't want to do, but I'm at plan Z right now. I've got no choice. I'm literally facing starvation again. Just 2-3 days ago, my air conditioning unit, that's the noise you hear in the background. It's a place heater that I purchased. My heater stopped working right before winter kicks in, full on winter, of course. So I got this temporary job, this contract work to do this graphics and video editing that I just told you about. But as soon as I get any money from that, go straight to the electric bill. And then right after that, literally the next day, the biggest reason I want the electricity is it craps out on me. So it's always something. I mean, just one step forward, 2 steps back. So anyway, yeah, I'm fighting for my life here, but that's by design. Glory be to God in all things. It's either going to make me or break me. I'm either going to go back to my faith completely like I should be, including all of myself into God's hands. And by His grace, maybe He'll sustain me and keep me going for whatever His reason may be, whatever His will may be. Or I'm going to die. I mean, well, I got to die some way. I just would suck to die of starvation or cold in a family home when it shouldn't be that way. I should have options, but I won't get into that again. Anyway, and thank you for those who supported me. There's a couple. There's Give the Gospel, who I'm still trying to get that money, but she gave me some money, and so on. There's a couple that gave me, like I said, someone else gave me work. A third person is trying to give me work. Hopefully that works out. So I greatly appreciate that, but what can I say? It's troubling times, disheartening, but I do my best to put my money where the mouth is, keep my faith, and should it be my lot that I die this way, then so be it. I mean, look, people, I already know what to do to make money, especially online, some online presence. I already know what to do to make money. But to do it, I have to sell out. I have to sell my soul. Hell no, I'm not going to do that. Hell fucking no. Excuse my language. No way. Absolutely not. I didn't come this far, so to speak, even though I'm doing a poor job of worshiping God like I should. But I've combated some evil. I've put my life on the line. I'm in this situation for a reason. So for me, let me put a perspective here and change the background. For me to give up in the very end, after all that, and I don't think there's words for that, for doing something that dumb, that counterproductive. So yeah. That's it. I don't want to be the person near Christ, near the end, but suddenly get pulled away, falling to temptation, near the end, near the finish line. God forbid. You pray for anything for me. Pray for that. Pray for my salvation. That's what matters to me the most. Okay, with that, I'm going to leave you guys. I don't have anything else. I think I pretty much covered everything I wanted to do, and then some. 2.5 hours in. Yeah, for those that are fighting, please, keep fighting the good fight. Blessed are those who endure to the end. This too shall come to pass. Matthew 24. For those of you who are not, I pray that you'll find Christ. You let Him into your hearts. You let Him. And I know this sounds crazy after all my complaints, but man, let me tell you, my mid-40s. Again, this is not bragging. I'm just telling you for the sake of glory, so you understand how the blessings are real. And I know some preach against the prosperity gospel. They don't like it. But God will bless you. God will bless you. God knows better. He knows what's best for you, better than you know yourself. I've experienced that time and again, and I'm so grateful to God. Even in my disposition, I've lived a full life in my mid-40s. How many who are not filthy rich can make that kind of claim? A full life, living all kinds of childhood dreams, some of which didn't even chase, didn't pursue. Just, let's say, well, granted, fell in my lap, as they say. I thank God for that. I can only thank God for that. So now I'm ready. I'm ready to move on. I've got no family. I'm ready to move on. But I want to do as much as I can before I go. And it'd be nice to, as we say, die peacefully in my sleep with a smile on my face instead of in a bitter cold of starvation with people hating me for being Christian. But if God endured what he did for our sake, what am I to expect? All right, I love you all. I hope everyone has a good Christmas with their family. Please be Christ-centered, keeping God in your hearts, in your minds, your news. Keep your news, regardless. At least for his sake, at least to celebrate the nativity, celebrate his incarnation. Yeah, proper with loved ones, and do it on my behalf. I'll be alone. I'm embarrassed to admit I'll be alone. So do it for me too. All right. God bless you all. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you, God willing, tomorrow. Let me show you a couple of video clips. Colombo exit. Let me show you a couple of video clips before I go. This one. This one's from. Come on. Why is this? Come on, can you listen? Breathe. Okay, there it is. We did. This is the cold close. Let me play that again for you guys who missed it. This is the cold open. This is a prelude to a potential sequel, and a reprise, all in one.
Excuse me for a moment, please.
What did you give him?
Oh, I just gave him some pocket change.
Randolph, leave me alone, Mortimer. Randolph! I'm still not talking to you. Look. Mortimer, we're back.
Okay, and this one's from Coming to America 2021, the reboot / sequel.
I finally made a friend from my own hood, and now she's gone. I'm gonna miss her crazy ass.
You could have told me about this groomer, but no, instead he runs off to America without a word to me. It is the most selfish act, unworthy of a Jofa. It is spineless.
Like father, like son.
What did you say?
Uppity bitch say what?
What? You are intoxicated, my queen.
All kinds of wiggity whack stuff happens when you are drunk and high, including making babies that you don't know anything about.
Right now, you are getting very in and out of my pocket.
Are you trying to say I'm out of pocket?
What I am saying is when a person is drunk and may say something that they regret. So I suggest you mind your tongue.
What happened to you, Akeem? You were supposed to change things. You were supposed to bring this kingdom to the 21st century, but instead, you push our daughter aside, someone who has dedicated her life to this country. And because she's a woman, she can't be your heir?
I cannot ignore hundreds of years of tradition. I am the ruler of this land. I must be strong.
I get it. You're the king. Well, I'll tell you what. There are a lot of other beds in this castle. I suggest you find another one.
Would you dare banish me from my own bedroom? Are you a fool?
Do you see me hopping on one leg and barking like a dog?
So, okay, there we go. I don't know what these buttons and these controls, StreamYard. Anyway, there's so much to say about that. I wish I'd shown that video clip earlier. Yeah, so basically, you see all kinds of things. I knew I was forgetting something too. I knew I was forgetting that was the video clip. That's what I was forgetting. I was forgetting to show the video clip. But okay, better late than never. I apologize again for the Colombo exit. So you see a lot of things there. You see the emasculation, of course, the argument, the attack on tradition. This is fake rhetoric about the arranged marriage and there's no female leaders ever before in world history anywhere. Absurd lie. I mean, it's all false, hypocritical, and divisive. It's just pure evil through and through. But there's another thing going on here. The whole Merry Christmas thing. She's talking about, getting drunk and being merry. I'm going to tell you like the Greeks say to each other, even to this day. Kali Christuina. Have a good birth of Christ, so to speak. That's the transliterator. It's have a good Christmas. Have a good Christmas. Not a merry, drunken Christmas. Yeah. Not a Christmas party where you get drunk and you exchange gifts and it's all worldly. Have a good Christmas. A spiritual Christian one. All right. Last clip. This one, I ran it through and it passed, so I shouldn't have any issues, but I saved it for last just in case. So, yeah, this is basically one of the memorable things from the original Coming to America in 1988. And also, again, shows just the worldliness and ad placements and all that. All right, God bless you all. Love you all. And again, have a good Christmas.